Well,
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Here we are then. We are live. I hope everybody's well. Evening, Phil. Hope you're doing well. We are joined by, for, whatever. English failure. Mark from Tilt Angle Drones. Mark has developed a cine lifter. I don't know much about cine lifters. Mark, take it away. Show and tell time. Why do I want a cine lifter? Why do I care?
Right, well, this was developed as an idea about 12 months ago, 13 months ago, something like that. I wanted something a bit more dynamic than my usual heavy lift hexes and quads that I was already flying around for doing various bits of work. A few people have started looking at this kind of thing because the big companies wanted the more cinematic footage, but with good quality, so rather than the small GoPro quality. So people started looking down this side of it. So I come up with this idea, kind of run out of time to do it really, because at the time I was, busy developing my hex and my quads at the time. I didn't really get around to doing anything with this, so I kind of shelved it for a little while. And then when we got to Christmas this year, found a bit more time, so I started playing, coming up with a few designs. I had an idea of what I wanted to produce in my head anyway, and this pretty much fitted what I wanted, really. Running Ardupilot, latest version of Ardupilot, Pixel Cube Orange as well. Got quite a few goodies in there, running quite a bit of TBS stuff as well for the long range stuff. We're doing a lot of testing at the moment on it. It seems to be going pretty well. The tuning I find is far easier on Ardupilot than what it is on the Betaflight, which is why I kind of scrapped off the using the normal FPV route and went with something a little bit different to what we'd normally do on this route, and I'm a bit more comfortable with setting up the Ardupilot stuff and the cube and all that as well. So I've done it a few times before. So we developed this completely carbon fiber, all hand laid. Everything's basically bespoke and one off for this. We can reproduce everything now. Of course, we've got all the molds, we've got all the templates, do a lot of 3D printing as well for this. I'll just show you around it. Currently weighs around 2.6 kilos with the GH4 on and this lens as well. So it's not light, but it's not that heavy in comparison with some of the others that are out there at the moment as well. Thrust capabilities of around about 16, 17 kilos of thrust. So it's pretty handy when it's in the air as well. It does the job. We've got an FPV guy who's testing it at the moment for us, a young guy, been FPV racer for quite a few years. He's doing really well with it. It's kind of moved away a little bit from what I originally wanted it to, which were more aimed at the PFCR guys who wanted something, a little bit more dynamic, but not full FPV. But he seems to have gone a bit more into the full FPV with a lot of testing it. He wants to, he's getting a bit more, how should I put it, finicky in what he's expecting from it over what I'm expecting. I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it. It's performing well. It's handling well, but he's after more and more and more all the time. So he's pushing it along and pushing it a bit more into that, all out FPV style really, rather than what it was aimed at, which is, like I said, PFCR guys who just wanted something a little bit more dynamic, really. So yeah.
Okay, Mark. Quick question. So you've gone Ardupilot. Yeah. What were your biggest challenges on using Ardupilot?
Trying to get the BL heli pass through was a bit of a pain. Didn't always work. Didn't always respond. But obviously, that's only a one-time thing. Once you've got that sorted, it's not too bad. That was one of the big problems, getting all that working properly, getting all the motor orientations working properly as well. Telemetry was a bit of an issue here, there and everywhere, but Philip Rouse helped me quite a bit with that. So I owe him quite a debt of gratitude for many a LinkedIn message to Philip about solving a few problems as well. Ben Wilkinson from 3DXR was a big help, as he has been with quite a few of the other, the heavy lift quad and X as well we built. So other than that, it's just been wiring and the tightness of everything in there. Really, it's quite packed at the moment. Running, dual 4-in-1 speed controllers, plenty of wiring, the on-screen display as well. So it's pretty full in there, to be honest, at the minute. But it seems to be doing all right.
So with all that trust, you could easily use other cameras, right? Or is it specifically for the Panasonic range?
No, it's not. We can carry anything up to about 1.8 kilo, really. At the moment, we're on about 900 grams, something like that. So we've got plenty of space afterwards. It was mainly aimed really at the box style cameras, so the BGH1, the Z-Cam E2, the Komodo, that kind of thing. Really, but I'm finding a lot of people in England seem to be more interested in the Panasonic and the Sony rather than going to the the red Komodos. Maybe it's just the availability of what we run in this country and we use a bit more.
And do you have any kind of camera control through the Cube, or are you doing it in parallel camera control?
No, there's no camera control on there at the moment. It's set it off and go at this point, but we can run parallel control in there if we wanted to as well. And then obviously we've got the camera triggering through the Cube if we wanted to do that side of it. But with kind of where we're at the moment, we just figured it was easier just to get it set it up on the ground, get it flying, and see what kind of footage you're getting. Really, it's only a very short 1-hit wonder for getting out there and flying, and I think you got about 5 to 6 minutes flight time with nearly 2 kilo payload. At the moment we're on about 7-8 minutes at the minute with the GH4 on there, so that's pretty good, really. Is that? But yeah, camera control shouldn't be much of a problem. It's similar to what we already have on our Everlift quads as well, so we can sort that if we need to, and as and when we need to.
Now, do you think that it would be helpful if you would get some kind of camera control through the ArduPilot stack?
It would, yeah. That's always going to be the issue, isn't it? If we could get some kind of reasonable camera control from most of the settings, even an ISO or a shutter speed through ArduPilot, that kind of stuff would be amazing. That for me would be the holy grail of running Cube and ArduPilot. But that if we could get to that point, that'd be fantastic.
Duly noted.
I think
if we could do it without a big companion as well would help. That's the key. That's the problem. It's funny. It's a problem loads of people are having. DJI have it on the Ronin. Soon have it on their gimbals. Everyone's having to battle the camera manufacturers because there is no standard. There is no simple. Well, Sony now have their SDK, which is a start, and that's something we can work with.
Look at which cameras they put on the SDK and then come talk to me. That's the biggest issue with the SDK.
How are you finding the image stabilization on the GH4? How does it hold up? It's
pretty good. It's pretty good. I'll be honest, we haven't done a great deal of post editing yet with it. We spent more time really just making sure that the damping's all right for the camera rather than actually going out and doing any true filming. We have done some with the GoPro Hero 8 on there. We had some decent footage from that. It's just getting time to pull all that apart and start doing anything with it, really, to turn it into anything that's reasonable for people to look at and find it interesting.
And it's keeping the vibes off, I'm guessing, is the big issue. In many ways, it's being super smooth isn't ideal anyway. That's not why you're flying that rig. It's just keeping the vibes down as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. The vibrations. We seem to be winning with that at the moment. Even though we've got an extremely stiff, lightweight airframe, we do have some points in between the arms and the body to give a little bit of dihedral effect on there, and that's done with some little cheese wedges that we have. So they help to take a little bit of the vibration out through the airframe, and then the vibration dampers on the camera plate seem to be doing a good job as well. And at the moment we're only running 4 dampers on there.
Are you making the arms yourself on this then?
Every single thing on this is made by me. Yeah, everything.
Because I noticed that they're quite unusual design and shape.
Yeah, I'll just show you closer one of them. So yeah, so the arms are a C section, but they are actually solid. We have a trick core in there to laminate them solid as well. Each arm weighs 21 grams when they're laminated up. The motor mounts are 3D printed from CFRP filament as well. The actual top mountings holding the motors on CFRP filament. You know, we've put as much effort into making sure everything is printed well, works well. You know, we're not just running a 300 quid printer on stuff here. You know, we're trying to get things as good as possible so we can actually use a lot of 3D printed parts on it rather than keep going to carbon fibre on everything. So obviously I've got to make molds and things like that. I've only run any carbon parts, so I've got to go and get them, you know, either laser cut or routed out, and it's just all extra time, extra cost. You're relying on somebody else, which I'd rather not do. So this industry for the composites is where I come from. My background's Formula One. I've been in there for, you know, many a year. So I know my stuff when it comes to the composite side of it and the moldings and that kind of thing. So I can do some pretty trick stuff when it comes to actually manufacturing components, and running that hand in hand now with the 3D printed stuff seems to be working really well as well.
I have a feeling you might know. Did you have anything to do with the red team?
The what, sorry?
The red team.
Yeah, I did. I had quite a bit to the red team.
You might have known someone who I know very well. So someone from my neck of the woods. Yeah. It'll be a person called Simon, and that's all I'll leave it there. I don't know if you ever come across someone, because he was doing composites for them as well. So
yeah, was it? Right, okay. I have.
And Liam, there's another guy. Liam was with them for a long time. A boy I know as well, who's from my neck of the woods down in South Wales.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know Liam, but yeah, I left there 5 years ago, and I was there for quite a few years. But yeah, I've come back to England, and now it's drones. You know, I left my love of racing cars behind, and now I just put all that effort and that into the drones. And you know, I love the attention to detail and trying to do something different. That, you know, maybe not the style of it is different, but actually the manufacturing process and the fine little details are different to what we normally get in this industry.
So have you got an autoclave in the garage?
I haven't got an autoclave in the garage, but I do have use of an autoclave. Yeah.
So now that I'm back, so are you going to be leveraging Formula F1 Engineer now designs FPV racing cine lifter? Are you going to leverage that like Billio? I hope you do.
I might do. I might leverage a bit more than the not DJI FPV thing. I think I've leverage that one to death at the moment.
The frames look lovely. The frame looks apt. I've had a good look at the website earlier, and the frames do look really nice.
Yeah. I'm pleased with it. It's how I wanted it to be. And the crazy thing at the moment, I've got a new idea for one slightly bigger as well to carry, sort of minimum of a red up to, you know, Alexas, that kind of thing as well. So we're starting that probably just over summer. Just get this one kind of finished and get it out the door if we can, as quick as we can really, and start getting a few. We've got quite a bit of interest in it. Where a lot of UK guys are really interested, which is good, because that was in market I was really trying to aim at. You know, I'm not trying to beat the Americans at their own game. I can't see anybody buying mine over one of the American brands, to be quite honest. But hopefully the UK guys and the European guys will be a bit more interested in.
So there's a big demand in. Is it a big market or just a niche market? How many units do you see yourself shipping?
It's a niche market, but it's a reasonably sized niche market, I would say, to be quite honest. There seem to be I think there's two or three main ones around at the moment. I think two of them are made by the same company anyway. The other one's quite a bit more expensive than what this is, and it is probably quite a bit bigger as well. Plus you're into more money for running 12S batteries and stuff like that, whereas this is only 6S. So, you know, the cost of this probably overall is a bit cheaper than what, you know, some of the bigger ones are. But yeah, I think the market's there at the moment. How long the market will stay for till people get fed up of that style of footage, you know, I don't know, but we'll give it a shot and we'll see where we get.
Do you have a Tilt Angles refresh package, whereas if you crash it, you replace it for a certain amount of money?
we don't. We are going to come up with a warranty package for it. You know, if people do break things and they buy a warranty package, then we will pay for the labour for free, and they'll just have to pay for the parts. But the details are a bit sketchy at the moment. It's kind of what we can get away with and what I can afford to get away with these things.
So, questions then: how fast does it actually go, and what 6S battery are you flying on?
Right, 6S battery is 4,500 milliampere at the moment on the Gens Ace. We're using the odd case ones as well, because just for testing they're a little bit better, a bit easier for crashing and bashing around as well. Last week, I think it was Friday, we had it up at a local wind farm, and into the headwind we had it at 132 kilometers an hour into a 15 mile per hour headwind. Coming down the hill, just out of the headwind, we saw 148 kilometers an hour. And the pilot backed out of that as well, because we had a couple of problems with the receiver running out of a bit of a range, so he kind of backed out of it really, and he reckons if he'd have kept it on full throttle, we'd have had well.
What sort of radio gear are you using?
At the moment, we're using FR Sky stuff. We're just updating this one into a new airframe, because this is full of quite a few holes now, as you can imagine, for changing things and swapping things. So we're just putting an R9M on there at the minute as well. We were going to go with the Crossfire stuff, but I'm not that happy with what I've heard about integrating the Crossfire sometimes with the Cube, and it was a complication I didn't really want to get into just at this point in time, whereas I've used the R9M and the R9 Minis quite a lot on one or two other things, so I thought I'd stick with what I know for now, you know, to get these out the door. Obviously, if people want to change that, then we can do something to...
Because the R9M works so well on that one at the airfield where it crashed, didn't it? The one we took at super speed or whatever it was. R9M's not... FrSky's 900 megahertz, not my favourite gear, but everyone makes their choices. And why did you choose 900 megahertz? Because that's a pretty noisy, pretty small band.
It's just what I've been used to using before. It was literally a case that I've had reasonable experiences with it before. It's never let me down. You know, I know how to get the thing set up. I know all the stupid foibles with the updating the firmwares and stuff like that. So I thought I'd stick with what I knew rather than going into something like Crossfire, which I hadn't actually used. I didn't really want to start, you know, and adding another element that was unknown into the project really at this point. Same with the DJI. Everyone's asking me for the DJI gear. There's room in there. It can be done. Again, it's just one of them little things that needs to be sorted out through the Autopilot and the Cube to get that talking to each other. I do know how to do it now, and that will be one of the next things to go on there and to be done. But it's not the front of the queue of things to be done at the moment, to be quite honest.
Fair enough. It's quite a brave thing to be doing entering this market, isn't it? And I suppose an elephant in the room, C ratings, C markings, 2 years time, EU. What are we thinking about that? 2
years. Two years a long time. 2 years a long time.
With that camera on it, it was not really a problem.
Well, it'll be in a specific category. So these ops users, you know, it'll be. Yeah. I can see it being really good for TV, film, and action shots. That's where this machine's going to win massively.
Yeah.
You know, I've done a little bit of work in that area. I can see where people are going to love that machine. If you can get one lifting a Red as well, you know, or a Alexa Mini, they're going to love it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I found in the UK there's a lot of people still use. It's funny you mentioned about the GH5, the G4s. There's a lot of people still using those cameras. I think we're a little bit behind the US. You know, the US has this Netflix upset. You know, there's a lot of people filming for stuff for Netflix. Okay, it's happening in the UK, but over here, I think many people are still loving those. You know, if you're going to make a bigger one, we might even be able to get an S5 on there with an L-mount lens. It's going to have to be bigger to carry that.
Yeah, you'll get an S5. On this.
Just up the glass.
With the range of lenses, I'm not sure which ones we'll get on there, but it will lift it and balance. You know, at the moment with the GH4 and GH5, where everything's pushed right to the center, we've still got a lot of leeway to push things right out. The camera player's got full adjustability to get pretty much anything on the DSLR side and mirrorless side without a problem. That's what it was aimed for me. I don't own any Red Komodos, unfortunately. I wish I did.
No.
Why am I feeling like the Mobius is underappreciated here?
Yeah, I think he's just built the perfect fix for the Canon R5 because it can't overheat at 140 kilometers.
No.
So I think
they're only worth throwing on the ground anyway.
Anyway, so I think you've inadvertently fixed Canon's problems as well with this.
Oh, good. I'll maybe take that one to them then and put it to them so what they say.
Every drone needs a smoke system.
Yeah.
I love. Have you got any intention of selling the frames? Now, I'm guessing before you answer, okay, you're a low volume product. The profit is in everything. So I'm guessing if you were to sell the frames, they're not going to be cheap, to say the least.
No, the frames alone aren't going to be cheap. I have been asked by quite a few people, especially people over on the continent, to buy the frames so they can put their own stuff in there. Yeah, I am willing to sell the frames. Obviously, I'm going to do it too. The right people. I don't just want to chuck them out the door to anyone and everyone, and then actually my product ends up being devalued because people are putting in poor stuff, crashing them, things aren't working. So I've got to be sensible about that. There's quite a bit of work in the frame, and then obviously people are going to want mortar, so they're going to want mortar mounts. I've got to be sure that people are going to start making mortar mounts and fittings that they're going to be right, they're going to work, and again, not devaluing what I'm doing because people are putting stuff on there that's not working correctly. But yeah, there will be an availability of frames, but not until I've done the first batch of aircraft, which is probably going to start sometime back end of May. I think when the first ones will be sold.
It makes sense because there's a bit of a lack of frames entering the industry right now. We're funny, quad and hex frames. There's a bit of a pullback from that side of the industry. DJI have ended the S series now. There's Tarot is still making stuff, but it isn't really decent quality from a quality frame point of view. So there's a huge gap. There are big gaps in frame manufacturing right now.
Well, there is actually. Funny you should say that. If I just move my phone over here, I've got my quad here as well. I think Mark's probably seen me testing this. I think we've had bits of spats about me testing it on jigs and him not being happy with me over it. No, was it not? I thought I must be mixed up with somebody else. But yeah, we've got the quad as well, which is going to be on sale probably in June once we get the Cine Lifter going, and that's quite a modular system, so we can change that quite easily into a hex as well. So there's going to be that, but again, that's going to be a ready-to-fly airframe. Is that again running Cube? Sold probably with Healink as well on the but at a sensible cost, not into the big money market. We're going to try and keep it a sensible unit, and then people just buy the airframe, buy the aircraft that's ready to fly aircraft, and then either we can up issue and put new things on there, or people can go and take away and do their own stuff.
I think for niche manufacturers like yourself, the biggest challenge these days is the battery management and the integration of payloads. Battery management, DJI has nailed it with their battery systems, although they have problems. And the integration of payloads is also a big issue. And that's why I was asking you about integration of camera control on Ardu Pilot. That would make life easier. That is something fantastic.
The integration with the payloads is the big problem. I think it always has been, until someone like yourselves come along and have all that integrated within the flight controller. I think it always is going to be a problem.
Yeah, because at the price point of, say, an M300, it's quite doable to build a system that can beat the M300s easily in flight characteristics. But the problem is the flexibility of the battery management system and the payload integration.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you look around nowadays with the batteries, and even this still looks a bit old school to me, carrying a 6S battery on top. But I think people are kind of moving away from that and expecting something a little bit more high tech looking at the minute. This doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's a battery. Take good care of it. It'll do you quite a long time. But yeah, a lot of people, especially with the big quads, are expecting something quite a bit different nowadays. I think with what we're generally running. My quad runs on 22 6S, so it's it'll think with 2 kilo payload, the quad will run for 30 minutes, pretty much all the time, every time on a 22,000. So it's pretty efficient. It's pretty light to start off with, but it's really only aimed at up to that sort of 2 kilo payload, really, for mapping, for inspection, that kind of thing, or carrying a lightweight camera such as the GH5. But I think them days really trying to sell a quad to carry a GH5 are probably long gone, really. I think we need to be moving on and aiming more at the the S5s, the S1s, that kind of thing. I think if we're going to go for the DSLR style cameras, I think the GH5's on its day, really.
It is the camera integration beating DJI is just a nightmare.
I can't really see at the moment anyone's going to do it. Even Unique, I've had an H520 for many a year now, and the payload systems, it's all right, but it's still not as good as DJI. The cameras are still not as good as DJI, and we're just battling DJI all the time, which is why I started building my own stuff, because I was getting a bit fed up to keep throwing DJI my money.
Is that 3-bladed props, by the way, on there as well?
Yeah, three blades. Yeah, the tri blades of these. Yeah, so on the 7-inch.
Okay.
Different pitch, top and bottom, or are they the same? Are they the same pitch?
Yeah, they're the same.
Okay.
So seems to fly nice. We did quite a bit of tuning last week, from the week before, and the FPV pilot were absolutely over the moon with it last week. You were really happy to see it. I looked like it on rails. Didn't seem to be getting much oscillation. Just a little bit on hover when we were coming into land, but actually when we were out flying, it were really good. So yeah, it's looking pretty good at the moment.
I had a model train that handled like it was on rails.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So soon as well. So soon in the evening. I must say, it is the sort of thing that I would be useless at flying. I would make rubbish videos with it. But it's the sort of thing that you think, oh, that look quite like us on my desk, or just behind me here. It looks like an aspirational sort of thing to have.
Yeah, it does. It does look quite pleasing, actually. It's it's quite nice. We've got an airframe, bare airframe here, which is going to start being built up this week for number 3. Number 2 is the replacement for this original prototype. So it's a complete molded airframe, quite small, quite light. I think the airframe with the arms on the top plate and the camera plate without any of the electronics or the motors comes in at about 470 grams. So it's it's pretty light. It's just pitting these so many damn motors on it to weigh it down again, really. Do something a bit lighter.
Is this the sort of size of market really where whether the key player or who the key players are that you'd like to get it in front of? Raving about it.
There's one really that sells something very, very similar, and I would say almost identical price point. One of the American ones. I'm not sure whether I'd like to name them. They know the art, and they've already started testing things with Cube on as well. So yeah, there's one main one. I think that the company sort of higher up the scale, I would say, than them is Catalyst Machines with their money shot, and I think the cheapest one's still quite a bit more expensive than this. And I say that's running bigger batteries as well. So just cost on top of cost on top of cost with with something of that size, really. I think this size for now is pretty good, really. It's fairly decent, fairly lightweight. You can carry it around fairly simply. Yeah, it's close to the ground. We've had no problems with landing, no issues with that. We've had a few stones kicked up every now and then, which is why my GH4 is on there and not a GH5. But other than that, it's been fairly rock solid, to be quite honest. And it's testing's going well so far.
FX Notes asking if there's any footage out there for anyone to see. A website to go to, I guess.
There's going to be my website will be up and running probably by this time this week. It's been held up a little bit because we've been trying to deal with the shop side of it, and we've just kind of decided we're not going to bother with the shop side of it. We're just going to put the prices on there and get people to speak to us and tell us really what they want, what they're looking for, and look at the options on there. Because the site itself was just getting far too complicated for the shop. There were option upon option upon option, and you couldn't have this option if you had that option. And in the end, we just decided to pull the shop side.
When it comes to shops and online, you just want to try and keep it simple so they can buy the base model with the radio kit. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up getting all these options, and you're going.
Yeah, that was the problem. We were going into offering external PowerPoints and stuff like that, and it was you couldn't have this one if you had that one, and if you wanted to control so many things, you had to have this carrying board on the cube, and it was just. Yeah, we're just going to put on there. This is the price for the base model. This is the price for the GPS model. If you want any other receiver on there, that's the price, and you either get it with this camera mounting for the DSLRs, or you have it with a side mounting for some of the other cameras. And from that, if people want anything changed and they want any extra PowerPoints and that kind of stuff, then it's just a conversation, and we'll just put it on there as they need it.
Yeah, I mean. I think when the TV production guys and film production guys in the UK start seeing it, I think you should do fairly well, because there's nothing else out there. It's all chase cars or everything else they have to use. And a normal drone like an Inspire 2, it craps out at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You do a high-speed chase, or you want to do those high-speed stunts, and you want to capture it all.
Yeah, definitely, especially with some decent quality footage as well.
Yeah.
But just getting back to the footage, there will be some from the actual perspective of the drone. We have got some stuff out there from the testing that we've just been filming as we've been going out testing, just to show people really, what it's like, what it sounds like, what it looks like, how it can move, that kind of thing. But that's really all we've had time for. It's just been, the last 4 or 5 weeks while we've had some reasonable weather, which we don't normally get in England. It's just been out testing as much as we can possibly get out, in the evenings, at the weekend, just, whenever we can get out, we've been out, and we've just really not thought about the footage side of it and, putting any kind of videos together or anything like that just at the moment.
Well, to be honest, story testing, why would you when you just need to make sure the aircraft's going to fly right? You wouldn't, footage can come after that.
Yeah, there is footage. We've got memory cards with footage on. It's just a case of sitting down and editing them up, and it's not something I particularly like doing. I'd rather be building and making things than sitting editing footage. I like the finished product. It's good. It's worthwhile, but it's just a pain to do it.
It does look a good machine.
Thank you. It's appreciated. The welcome it's had from certain people, from yourselves. It's pleasing to see that there's people out there who think it looks good, it goes well. Gives me that inspiration to carry on and push on and start getting the first few sorted, get the website finished, and see what we can do over the course of the next 6 or 7 months, really, with something else as well.
Is this a bit more the growing up of the advertising cinema sort of type industry stuff? Because I think we're all pretty bored of the standard drone shots that we're seeing everywhere. Oh, yeah, that's been done with the drone. Yeah. Great, right. Next shot. I think we're definitely over a lot of the conventional drone shots got with a lot of the normal stuff. So is this a cinema world or TV world growing up?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Just to give that slightly different perspective, covering quite a bit more ground as well. I think it just looks a bit nicer at times. Not always nicer. I think the stabilized footage has a really good place. But I think just at the moment, this seems to be the things that people want in this style of footage. The cinema companies, the TV companies, they seem to want a lot more of this type of footage. And I've seen quite a bit of DJI, FPV stuff knocking around at the moment, and people using that for TV. And it's pretty ugly, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be quality, isn't it? There's Phil's who are using analog or digital FPV. I noticed you using what looks like a run cam.
Yeah, we're using the Runcam Eagle Pro 2 along with the TPS Unify HV as well at the moment for that side of it. Yeah, as I said before, the DJI stuff will fit in there. You know, we've got plenty of cooling. We've got 2 5-volt fans running at the front, which pick up from the top of the airframe, and then we've got plenty of louvers. I don't think you can see the top louvers on, but you should be able to see sort of the bottom louvers for cooling as well, so we can get plenty of cooling in and out of there. The 5-volt fans are really just for cooling stuff like the Unify Pro while it's just sat there idle while we're messing around with it, or we've got the USB plugged in and doing that kind of thing. It's got a USB point right at the front as well, so we can plug that straight in and do what we need to do on IG Pilot as well.
It's got USB. Well, that's great. Ian's our local USB expert.
Yeah, I'll rip it off.
Yeah, in what manner can you get it to catch fire via that? Because Ian will manage it.
I'll manage to set it on fire whilst removing the USB port.
Yes.
I'd love one of the frames.
You guys are very hard on Ian. It's very unreasonable.
Yeah, is that unreasonable? Oh,
yes. He tries very hard.
To rip them off.
He does.
I do put them back, though. I do rip them off and then put them back. So
absolutely.
His middle name is Hot Glue.
Hot Glue.
Yeah, that.
Well, the DJI. There's news on the DJI FPV gig thing, isn't there? I think
it's not really news. It's Cadex have announced the air unit which they're going to be making. Let me just, because it's not really making. Basically, they're supplying a camera to the DJI air unit. No one really knows what's going on here. Either DJI don't want to put another run of cameras into production, so they've just said to Cadex, you crack on, or this is related to the silicon shortage, or there's another rumor it's related to the ban on purchasing products in the US. And I was reading a good article the other day, because remember, this ban that is on DJI is two-way. It's not only them selling to government, but it's them purchasing certain stuff as well. And it could have an effect, but I'm not convinced it would affect the camera. There are many other things it would affect more than just the camera module itself. So, but Cadex have shown it. It's a replacement. That's it. It's the same unit, same price, $189. Still expensive. Yeah.
And that work with goggles built on every other day or on a Thursday?
No, it should be work. It should. The understanding is, and to be 100% clear, there's no spec. But the belief is it is a direct replacement for the DJI unit. Spec for spec, no changes. In fact, we believe the module itself is the same. It's only the camera that Cadex are adding to it. But DJI don't even appear to be selling it now. I've got my thoughts. I personally think they're moving on from this side of it. I think it's small business. The amount of ear units, me and Bruce discussed this before a few times, the amount of ear units the FPV community bought, they'd have sold more arm protectors for the FPV drone than all of those ear units added up. So I just think they've looked at it and gone, production's ran out. Do we allocate resources or not? And I just think they've just gone, you crack on. That's my belief, and I could be wrong.
But the thing is that they're making the ear unit for Cadex anyway.
Yeah.
It's just a OEM rebranding exercise, and it's camera's the only thing that's different. And unfortunately, the Cadex camera's never been quite as good as the DJI camera.
The irony is DJI are very good at what they do, and that's and one of the points of that is the imaging on that. And yeah, it's going to have to be seen how good this is. And it's a weird situation. This is the first time I can remember DJI have out and out allowed a third party to make things for their system, but not then go themselves. They have done some deals with Tilter for the Ronin series of gimbals, and there is a whole range of accessories around them that Tilter make, but you're talking car money. It's getting into them, and brand new car money, not a £600 old banger. So, but yeah, I personally think they just don't see the value in it moving forward. But they also can't walk away after all of the noise they got.
Interestingly enough, I have a RunCam camera that works with the DJI Air unit.
Ah, the one that worked, but then they backtracked very quickly.
Yeah, I've got one of those. I wonder if they'll bring that out again. You never know.
No. So there's a little bit of news. Nothing spectacular.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to leave you now.
All right.
But thanks very much for having me on, and I really appreciate all the good words about it. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Mark.
Pleasure. We will follow it with great interest. What's the URL for your website when it comes up before you go?
It will be twotangodrones.com. And if anyone needs to email me, it's currently mark@twotangodrones.com. So that's set up and running at the moment. All right.
And actually, before you go, Mark, I think I might owe an apology because it might have been me. Just looking at your arm in the background, it might have been me that said something on the web. It might well have been me because I've just noticed the bent arm and I'm going, yeah, you might be right about me.
No problem.
We are basically saying, yes, he's an asshole. That's what we're saying.
All in favour, raise your hands now.
Yeah.
Thanks a
All
lot.
right, Mark. Take care. Cheers. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Oh, look, we've got a Mark space. No.
Oh dear. He's on form tonight. He's on form. Yeah, I think it does look a very nice looking thing, and it's probably a good time to be launching that sort of a thing.
Well, if he's got the footage and it's really good, and then you get someone that's got a DJI FPV, and they're thinking TV production company sees his footage, sees the DJI one. Which one are you going to go for? Which aircraft do you want?
But really, is a mirrorless camera going to be that much better than some of these really good smaller FPV cameras that are out there now? The GoPro 9. I mean, you're not going to use any bokeh on a FPV drone or anything like that.
It's the grade. Yeah, I want my Tone. I want my Tone at 140 kilometers an hour. I think it's more about grading. I think there's a lot. It comes down to the grading, and DPs like having, they're very finicky beasts. I haven't had a lot to do with the film industry, but I've had a little, and they're fairly unreasonable, finicky beasts when they want to be. And
the DP will go, I want. Right, there's no ifs or buts. It goes, I want the Alexa, and I want X lens on it, or I want a choice of these lenses, and I want this camera and lens. They are very much like that. The DP will go, no. What I wanted was that, and you can't go, well, this is what I've got always. You've got to try and get as close as you can to what they want, especially when it comes to, if you can carry a Red, they'll love you. If you carry the Alexa Mini, they'll love you. Give them a GH4, give them the camera option, the lens options, they will want that option. That's what they're going to go. They know what they're going to get from the camera. They're going to go, that's what we want.
Some people are just too damn fussy.
It's an interesting market, and the problem is, you've got to differentiate yourself somehow in this. And, as I said to him, Mark, when he was asking about the frame, look, if we're honest on any of these things, the component cost is fairly low. And I don't mean that in the hundreds, but a couple of, for Mark, his frame is a lot of man hours. It's the building of the aircraft. And almost you've got to build a niche around selling, right, I'm going to sell you this for 10,000 quid. But you're buying a package that works. It's not the component value of it. And if you can sell a few a year, then you're doing okay. And it's a tough market, because if you want, you can get an Inspire 2 for 3, 4.5, 5 grand, $6 grand, you'll get it with an X7, which will knock the spots off almost everything out there. But you've got to somehow make a niche. And I think you start to see some companies do it.
This is not the same league as the Inspire with the X7. We all know you have an Inspire 2, and this is not for the same thing that you use an Inspire 2.
No, but what I'm saying is, when you're looking at cost, you're having to sell something. You're not selling something based on value. You're selling it based on what it does differently to everyone else, and that's what he's got here.
USB.
Well, you're also selling something that when you pitch up and you take that out of the box, everyone goes, "Oh, what's that? That's not a DJI thing." You know, that little bit of difference, a little bit of sizzle around the look of the thing. But really, what you're trying to sell is the actual skill of the operator, isn't it? Because they're the person. It doesn't matter what the platform is; it's the operator that makes that. That's why I know. Whilst I'd like one, I wouldn't be able to film any of the toffee
it's like
with
that
it.
bowling alley film. That could have been any drone. You know, that's any. It doesn't matter what aircraft that was. That was all the pilot. And that was incredible. That's all him. It could have been any of the FPVs. It could have been a micro. It's interesting because you've got that other company. You've got a couple of companies doing very well right now. You got the one in the UK. What are they called again? They got the Mantis. They got the Mantis.
Vulcan UAV. UAV shot. They fly the.
It's called the Mantis drone. It's the one with the very high. They're selling a lot of them to police. One of them, the police crashed. In fact.
Oh yeah. Evolve
Dynamics. You know, they seem to be doing very, very well. You know, they're selling a lot of aircraft. They're getting into a lot of places. You know.
Yeah.
US now as well.
No,
well,
there are quite a few niche specialty drones that are usually single-purpose drones. There are quite a few.
I've got so much to say, but I can't. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything, so I've got to.
You can't say that. You have to say something now.
I can't talk about. No, I just can't. Petrol, quads, and all that. I can't. I've seen some cool stuff. I know what's going on somewheres.
There's a lot of niche stuff that's doing all right at the moment. So
I know a secret, but if I told you, it wouldn't be a secret.
Bespoke drone is actually doing quite well at the minute, I think, because people are realizing that the DJI stuff can only do certain things. There is such a niche to carry certain specific payloads that are completely different that DJI just can't carry. And with them now ditching the M600, which was quite a nice machine, universal, you could strap just about what you wanted under it. Now that machine is that's it, it's done. You know, the bespoke stuff is really opening up, I think. You know,
don't worry about the M600. If you want, I can sell you quite a few.
I like the frame, Louis. I want a frame. No, nothing out. Frame and motors, please.
You see, the thing is, I know a bespoke builder, and I've just seen some of the cool stuff that's just come out of their workshop and has gone on to do jobs. And none of it's DJI stuff. It's all, you know, it's all Ardu stuff. It's all the Cube.
Ben is building his own frame. 3DXR in the UK has his own frame he's been working on, and that's coming to fruition now. He's been working on it for 2.5 years, and that's another frame which he's been building out for custom drone applications, and it's been selling fairly well.
Come on, guys. Bit of carbon tube, some carbon plate, couple of motors, 3D printed mounts, a cube. Bingo. There's your job done. Piece of cake. What's all the fuss?
Stop the press. Philip Rouse has reached Bruce. Bruce is promoting the cube. Stop the press.
Well, let's tell you, Ardu is getting very syndicated in these areas right now, and you're seeing more and more of it. And the cube is coming up a lot, but the cube is just a lot of the time through the supplier's choice. It's not, look, from an ArduPilot point of view, it really doesn't matter what autopilot it is. Yes, there's little functionality differences between certain models, but other than that, it doesn't matter. But I think Ardu is seeing a bit of a win in this sector as well, as long as it can capitalize on it. There's a lot of good going on. There's
a good reason. There's a good reason to recommend the Cube, though. An ArduPilot. If you're a manufacturer, you do ArduPilot, because then once you've sold the product, they've still got to keep coming back to you and saying, "What does this parameter mean? What does that parameter mean?" It's an ongoing revenue stream. If you just did something simple, then you'd be out of business.
One parameter a day you have for 4 years. Don't worry.
when you give a client their new bespoke drone and it's set up and it flies, and it's been tested and you've shown them it and you explained how it works, one of the things is don't touch the settings unless we tell you to. You know what I mean? The client, the end client, never should have to go into that aircraft settings. Once you give it to them, once it's done, they should never have to tinker. That machine flies.
Who owns that drone? They got a right to tinker. I mean, that's how you get follow-on sales from the broker ones.
Break it.
Well, I think another thing to not forget is that a lot of the off-the-shelf systems for let's just move away from multi-rotors and into fixed-wing stuff are eye-wateringly expensive for pretty basic systems. And you can build 2 or 3 bespoke systems with better camera setups for the price of them. So I think a lot of the early adopters, a lot of the early folks to market with their fixed wing platforms in particular, have overpriced them, and so they are driving. They're driving the make it yourself thing. And once you get it, let's face it, once you get into a pattern of it, where you're putting 2 or 3 out for your own use wherever they are, and you've got a routine to how you build it and set them up, then yeah, you're your own little aircraft manufacturing company as well.
Well, NASA's done this, haven't they? They didn't use the DJI when they went to Mars.
Well, and I know I'm going to bring up the airframe again, so you can all slate me for it. But if you take the Believer, for example, so it's a £350, it's a $300 airframe, for example. You stick your RG Pilot in it, okay? You stick a couple of motors in it, you stick a battery, you put a hair link with it, you spend about $2,500 in total, including the airframe, kitting it out, putting in your payload, a nice camera in it. Yet you can go and buy an EB for $18K.
Yeah.
Which one do you go and buy? It's the thing with the EB is the only thing with the EB is the planning software is astoundingly good.
But don't forget that's coming to RG Pilot now. Louis going to remind me the name of the thing that's coming from Intel, which is a much better flight planning software. It was the Mavinci stuff.
The flight planning software. It's so hugely good. That's But
so that problem is about to go away.
And not only that, I think the guys that are following that have lots of experience with that software. So development on that is going to progress very fast. And not only that, but Michael Oborn with Mission Planner is also trying to be less hidden on those features. What was the last one that we found out? Control Shift F10 or something like that. That there are some. So all those secrets of Mission Planner, Michael is bound to change them. And in opening up to both for Android and non-Windows systems, will make Michael Oborn create a more versatile and hopefully good-looking mission planner.
You see, that's the only thing that I find about the fixed wing. So I'm currently having niggles with some of my kit, but what I like is you can link this to the laptop that this is on, and my mission planner, it's showing me what's going on. So I've got it on this screen, I've got it on that screen. The aircraft's flying along, you can see everything nicely. It does work very well. But when you want to move the home point or something, or you want to move your landing point, on the EB software, you just drag it and go, and the aircraft just does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those kind of features are what you really want.
Yes.
That's the stuff you really love.
But you can do it. But if you're flying for 3 or 4 hours, you've got time to think about it, and that's what. So that's in operations. Don't worry. That's what we do.
Mark, your wishes have been granted because now you can even send a mission mid-flight to the vehicle. So if you want, you can change the mission mid-flight. Don't worry, it's now on master. So your wish has been granted, partially because you still don't have the GUI support for it, but that will come along.
The what support? Sorry.
GUI.
The interface, the GUI.
Yeah. I mean, at the minute, my biggest problem is getting this to update. But if I go
update?
That, pardon?
Get more to update.
Hammer.
Really?
Have you tried an hammer? Hammer and chisel?
The update, the over-the-air should work for the current firmware. The alpha's different, but the over-the-air should work fine.
That's not having it.
It's what, not download? Are you sure it's not on the latest one?
Well, because it's too old.
Well, can you update via the device? Right, we'll have to have a chat because it depends what version you're on. Basically,
Ian would do this live on air.
I could do it now. Yeah, I could literally.
This would be live on air.
You should also do a support channel. Let's do a support channel. How to fix your chair while updating.
But this is NASA Tech updating the software from a long way away. Isn't that really clever?
No.
Yeah, we can do it remotely.
We even get notifications. I still get
They've got a wiki
from 10 years ago of Bruce. On the Bruce boards, so I'm teaching how to charge the batteries. So we should have an episode that we do a support channel.
Just wait till you see my new battery tech. How would you like 4,000 milliamps, 35% lighter than a lithium polymer battery, but with 100C capability?
Are you selling snake oil again?
No, it's an idea I've had. I'm going to try it out.
You finally finished that hydrogen producing plants.
Oh, yes.
The
project, yes.
I'm just waiting for some calm weather and to remember to get it out from under the bench and let it go.
Yeah, no, I think I haven't given it a super amount of thought, but I think there probably is something in the pricing of a lot of fixed wing platforms that make it hard to scale and easier to produce your own if you once you get over that fear of producing your own. It's really not that difficult.
Well, the biggest problem, and I've been in 2 companies that produce accessories for drones. The biggest problem is how to streamline the process of building those products. Because otherwise it's a fully manual, tedious job, and it's not an easy task. So these niche products,
but Chinese factories do it with ARFs all the time.
Of assembly. Sorry?
Chinese companies are churning out ARFs all the time. They don't seem to have trouble with labour and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, that's it with these ARFs. It's only put a carbon spar and plug some wings in and connect some servos.
But even the old ones, where they had laser cut plywood and covering film and things, they tune those out. But it's a case of there are markets where labour is cheaper than anything else, so you go and get them made in those markets.
I suppose it's
Bruce,
because
then you have been there, done that. And then you have a failure rate of 70% of the systems. No, thank you.
Most of my ARFs flew just perfectly. They didn't fail until they hit the ground.
Yeah, but it's only dropping some kind of pasta inside a molding machine and picking up on the other side. Not that easy, because usually these kinds of systems are specialized, requires some programming, not your run-of-the-mill like filling up a mold with the styrofoam.
Well, maybe. I suppose.
Who uses styrofoam?
Yeah, what was the battery?
The battery idea.
Well,
It's a lithium ion with all the benefits of lithium polymer. So it's light like lithium ion, but it has the high C rating of lithium polymer. So you can go and do your flip-flops and high power runs and things and still have plenty of power to get home. I looked into supercaps, but have you seen how primitive supercap technology is? I looked through DigiKey and Mouser, and unless you want to pay like $29,000 for a supercapacitor, they've all got internal resistances measured in hundreds of milliohms, which means you can't suck much out of them. That's probably why the new Lambo with the supercaps and Ian would know, the new Lamborghini with the supercaps and regenerative braking and things, that's why they're so expensive. Those supercapacitors they use for those, the high current ones, are enormously expensive.
And so where have you been building this battery, or is this a battery that's arrived? Because I think an inquiring mind wishes to know.
No, just building it. It's pretty simple. You take a lithium-ion, 3,000 milliamp hour lithium-ion pack, and you whack on there a 1,000 milliamp LiPo with a 100C rating. And suddenly the LiPo provides all the high current demands for reasonably short periods of time. It's only 1,000 milliamps. But then when the load goes off, the lithium ion recharges the LiPo. So next time you put a load on, it's got that high C rating to deliver the current. So I'm playing around with paralleling those up, but you can't just put them in parallel, because then when your lithium ion battery gets down to 2.5 volts per cell, you've plugged in your LiPo. But there are ways around that, and using FET switching and things. And so I'm looking at options whether I use a 5-cell LiPo so I can go down to those low voltages, or whether I only allow the high current during the phase when the lithium ion battery has a voltage compatible with LiPo, and therefore the extra capacity is a get me home capacity on the lithium ion pack. There's a lot of thought stuff going on. It looks like it could have a bit of potential actually for those things where you need to do those fast, massive cinema shots, but you need that reserve to get you home once you've finished your filming, and you might be, a couple of KO or something like that.
So you're thinking of switching them in and out, but rather than just parallel up? Yeah, you're talking so almost
some intelligent paralleling. Yeah.
So you would almost like boost. In many ways, it's like Curse or what we have on the Formula One cars. Where,
Formula One stuff.
Yeah, where you're bringing in extra power as needed. That's an interesting prospect.
Yeah, because for all the cinema stuff now, you want, like as Mark was saying before, 5 or 6 minutes. It's not long enough to do any good setups, and for a good cinema shot, you set up, you're sitting there waiting for the action. It all happens in 30 seconds, but you're waiting for so long, and the timing of synchronization is important. So you've got to be in the right position at the right altitude, facing the right way when the car comes screaming through or something. And this gives you the extra reserve to do that and get back. And so if it extends it to 10 minutes, that makes a huge difference to the utility of that particular craft as a viable option in the cinema industry, for example, because they hate having to do another shot.
You almost could have a 1 amp literally a 1 amp LiPo. High capacity.
100 amps. They'll deliver a 100C battery, and that's enough for a lot of stuff.
No, it's doable. The only issue is having the control systems in place to manage that.
Yeah, but I mean,
and you also can get the charging might be tricky.
But you can charge them separately. It doesn't matter. But what we're looking at is, you can get 150, 200 amp FETs that are really small, and considering they're only passing current for a small amount of time, have a very, very low on resistance. Even the thermal dissipation isn't really a big issue. So that would be something. I'm going to experiment with it and see how we get on, because I'm using lithium ions a lot now, but I'd like to have the ability to do punches and a bit of power when I need it, and this may just be the way to do it.
Because you're saying, what about weight, extra energy?
So I worked it out. For a 4,000 milliamp 4-cell pack, for example, it would still be 35% lighter than the equivalent LiPo of the same capacity and the same C rating. So
I'm so glad you've taught this all through here, because this is our idea now. Thanks very much. That's great.
No worries. So for the public domain, I'm not going to. I won't charge you patent fees.
So can we call it an hybrid electrical system?
Yeah,
it's an hybrid electrical system.
Hybrid battery, isn't it? It's Bruce's hybrid BHB. Bruce's hybrid battery.
Acronym of the day.
I'm
trying to think of a rude acronym to go.
I know you are.
I was trying to as well. Yeah, I was trying to do that. Now, also being asked, Q-Ground control versus mission planner using the GCS you were talking about. So talking about HearLink. You can use either ones. You can use any of the for setting up, mission plan for setting up, Q-Ground control for running it. Is how a lot of people do it.
So how mine's rigged is, this is then Wi-Fi linked to my laptop, and then you can use Mission Planner. And because these are talking to each other now through the Wi-Fi, when I write, it goes through the HearLink up to the aircraft. And that's probably the best way to do it, because this screen, you can't do squat on this screen. You try and plan a complicated mission. Come
on, Mark, you're saying bad things about that product, and that's user error. It's almost certain user error.
I'm going to have a moan about this. Why do they use a reflective screen? This is 2021. We have non-reflective screens. You put a white shirt on out in the sunshine, and you can't see that damn screen for billiards. Same with all those reflective screens. Why don't they have
epaulets showing up as well? All the gold, the gold shining.
Usable screens. HearLink, I want this size. not this size. That's what I really want. I want
non-reflective, matte finish, anti-glare.
That's what I really want.
You're going to be paying 50% more. Then that's the problem. There are some.
Well, you can buy LCD screens for FPV,
you have to remember,
and they're like $50.
Volume devices. There is a bit of history on this bit of it. You can run on Hearlink Q Ground Control. You can now also run the Android version of Mission Planner or Solex. I'm not a fan of Q Ground Control. Personally,
I'm a big fan of
a perfect example for me.
I don't like it one little bit.
I've got Rabbit Link from a distance. It looks like a Hearlink.
I
like Solex.
It's horses for courses, isn't it? And when the new ground control station comes out, which everyone's the new born of Mavinci one comes along, then that's whatever we're using, and no doubt that'll work on Hearlink. But as you say, I know I've seen operators operate exactly as you are, Mark. A laptop in the car, Hearlink on the roof, laptop and Hearlink talking, and Mission Planner running on the laptop.
Yes.
Exactly what I see.
The only thing that I think that I found was a bit of a strange one is the aircraft has the shake and chuck auto takeoff. Q Ground Control doesn't acknowledge the flight mode.
That's why I don't like Q Ground Control.
No. There are some reasons for that, but we can always ask Don Gain to add it to plane. But there are reasons for that. But Mark, I'm going to introduce you to the product, to the ground control station that will make your life so much easier. It's called MAV Proxy, and it's all command line. So
we're gonna sit here and have 4 hours with MAV Proxy.
And the first command is help ?
What I don't like about Q Ground Control is it gets upset at any change within ArduPilot, whereas Mission Planner just accepts the params and moves on. Whereas a Q Ground Control is constantly throwing up errors like this has changed, that's changed. It's looking for certain things too much. That's where I don't like it.
No, that's because, and I know Q Ground Control quite well, and the release versions are always behind the latest developments on ArduPilot, and there's a reason for that. But if you
haven't pulled them in yet.
No. Come on, we all know that ArduPilot is, let's say, a very dynamic system, and from
on a daily basis,
2 minutes, and every 2 minutes. And every 2 minutes you get a new set of parameters. So, and the way that we handle parameters is also changing. So there are quite a few reasons why Q Ground Control does not keep track as a Mission Planner.
But this is the problem, because you've got a number of vendors, not just Philip and his team. All of these vendors that are making handsets using Q Ground Control have their version in, which is they're generally customized slightly to work with the devices. So what you then end up with is the devices on an older version with the ArduPilot new, and it throws up some critical error. Like if you take the classic was we improved.
Come on, sorry, but why are you using Q Ground Control on Master?
I'm on it. It's on stable. It's on release. It still throws the errors on release. It does.
No,
it still throws the errors
come on. No, come on. If you are trying to be on the edge of technology and using
it does it on release, Louis. It is full release. Q Ground Control throws the errors on release.
It takes only a few days for it to pick up.
It does. All of the changes, even in release, it's enough to do it. Whereas Mission Planner ignores them.
I'm going to separate them a bit. Hang on, they're a bit too close. Separate them a bit. Yeah.
That's why I love Mission Planner. I like Mission Planner, but it is hot. It is only PC. Mission Planner isn't great on a tablet. As much as Michael's done amazing work making it work, I still like the fact that he's made a Windows pop-up appear on Android. That is my favorite element of Mission Planner on Android. That you go and you go, that's a Windows.
No, the key words of what you said is make it work.
Make it work.
Yeah.
So it's black magic why it works. it sometimes works, except for you that you get the Windows pop-ups.
I like them. Well, I beta tested it or alpha tested it as well. I had an early one which didn't actually work, but it did. It was very good.
But Ian, someone like you should compile Mission Planner locally.
Oh no! Last time I compiled the wiki, right? I took the wiki down for about 2 hours on Argent. I got told off by Tridge. So actually, no, Tridge was fine. It was Henry who told me off. Yeah.
Have we seen today that Wing changed the subject a little bit? Wingcopter have produced their 3-package dropping version.
I didn't see it.
No, so yeah, it can.
Do we care?
Well, I thought it's a strange. It's a pretty-looking thing. I'm not sure how much of an advantage it is to be able to take off and land or go to 3 different places with 3 very small packages. I still think that the optimum size for delivery drones is probably about 20 kilos, but that's just sucking it out of the air. It's a guess, or 20 kilos of cargo.
Is that 3 prisms, by the way?
Yeah, three. It's got 3 winches, so 3 packages to go down, so you can deliver to 3 different places if you so wished. But it's a pretty
drone delivery to your house by winch. I just don't see it.
Oh, lots of people are doing it to all sorts of places. I'm not quite sure why, because of course the power to sit in the hover while it winches down and winches up again is immense compared to just landing on, letting someone saunter up, take the box off.
What's wrong with just dropping with a little look out below and then release? That would do it with little. So like they do with the first Mars mission, it bounced and then the airbag's deflated and it opens up. There you go. What works.
Funny, I still can't get super excited about that helicopter. I'm more excited about the bloody great jet-powered multi-rotor thing that drops a whole lot down, and then that winches it down by a line. I mean,
and will the next one have 3 winches so it can deliver 3 rovers?
Exactly.
I just think it's a little bit underwhelming. For us, it flies. Okay, it's got a much lighter atmosphere, but it's still got an atmosphere. You know, this isn't a rocket-powered drone. If this was a rocket-powered drone, I think we'd all be going, Jesus,
no, I'm more impressed.
That carriage was.
I'm more impressed that it's got rotors, 1% of the atmosphere of Earth, and it flies. And the thing is, the power to weight ratio.
That's physics.
But getting that much thrust out of that thinner atmosphere to lift something that weighs that much, and having only solar power as your energy with a dusty solar panel that is, way more further from the sun than the Earth is. It's all that technology. When you look at it, it's amazing that it works at all.
Once they get the physics right, the big one is the rocket cradle stopping in the air and lowering it down. There's a million things that can go wrong with that.
That is also just physics. And
but it's physics on a bigger level. At the end of the day, it's
come on,
a multi-rotor.
Come on.
It's a dual blade.
We are just waiting. We are just waiting for Bruce to complain to the FAA that they are doing remote flight without an observer.
I think this is a wonderful testament to the fact that the drone regulations in America are now so complex and so hard to comply with that NASA had to go to the moon to fly their new drone. Go to Mars to fly their new drone.
How is your dobbing in campaign going, Bruce? How is it being on the other side?
It's been great, actually. Our local council is under investigation for breaching the civil aviation regulations. I'm keeping the newspaper informed on that one. We'll see what happens.
Oh my God!
But the most important thing I saw this week was Brendan announcing a drone competition for DJI, where you get that shot. It's the most difficult or the most unthinkable shot with an FPV drone using it, although the rules are not very clear, because you go to the page and it says these are the terms and conditions, but you must also follow the rules, but there are no rules. And Brendan didn't seem to have an answer to that. So we don't know what the rules are, but if you follow the rules, you could win something you've already got, a DJI drone. How fantastic is that? Probably because you'll need it if you go for one of those shots. You'll have a broken dish.
I've missed this one. Then where's this been shared? I've missed this.
It was on Twitter.
Oh, yeah. I haven't been on today much.
I was told to join Twitter, and I did.
Yeah. We had a pretty dreadful 2 nights ago. The Supermoon job, pretty dreadful general aviation accident, training accident here. 2 light aircraft collided on top of the VOR. Night navigation exercises. They collided. They hit each other at the nav aid. 4 people passed away, sadly. Radio calls, all those other things. So general aviation or aviation training commercial pilots, once again, it's flipping dangerous. Terrible accident.
Yeah, at least it wasn't a drone, though.
At least it wasn't a drone, yeah. So it's the ever-evolving story.
That incident didn't even make the papers here, but if it had been a drone, it would have been all over the world's media.
Well, in the UK, that Osprey did make sure that no drone could go near.
Yes.
An air ambulance landing pad.
It was at Cambridge, wasn't it?
Yeah. It took out the entire place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so nice to see. Sorry.
But I see the US military crashed one of those helicopter drones into the side of one of its boats and lost it.
Yeah. Oh, Cameron K-Max, what's it called? The Titan or whatever the civilianized version is. And everybody seems to have forgotten the fact that did a huge trial with the American military with the landing parks in Afghan and was so successful the army kept it there even longer. Suddenly they've invented it this week. But anyway, according to a lot of the press. What else did I think was quite good this week? There's been a lot of delivery stuff. There's some interest. It's been quite an interesting old week. I know what it was. UAvionics getting a patent for another little piece of their sense and avoid pie. That's all beginning to hot up again, isn't it? I don't know whether that's a seasonal thing, but there seems to be a lot going on in the RID world. So the
regulators have made this point. You can't fly BVLOS without sense and avoid and all that sort of stuff. So with these technology, with the demand now for BVLOS, because it's the only thing where drones become remotely viable, they're having to come up with solutions or at least mitigate what they said was an unmitigatable problem. I agree with you, Mark, 100%.
Yeah,
I couldn't have put it better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was looking at this a few days ago. The BVLOS stuff is now, YASA have said they're going to allow it under a PDRA or standard scenario, whatever they decide to do it under. And if you're in a open area, you're middle of nowhere, and you're in the mountains or you're basically no one's around, they're actually going to let you do 10 kilometers, if I've read it correctly, which is interesting. So they're saying 10K should be possible. Unless I've read it wrong, Louis might correct me. But I'm sure I was reading it.
We could do 15 here.
15. But with BVLOS, once you're out of line of sight, it doesn't matter how far away you are, does it?
No.
What's your problem, Mark? You guys in UK don't know what a kilometer is, so you stick to miles.
It's no poles. Purchase and chains is how it will be done there now.
Rods.
It's going to be quite interesting. But I was thinking about this the other day. I know someone that's developing a system and it runs off a little cube and it's got a thing and it talks to the Wi-Fi or the cellular network and then you're on a screen and you display where you all are and all this kind of stuff. And I was just looking at the Open Glider network again and I'm going, why on earth do companies spend millions of pounds because they want subscription out of us when we can just have this little fella, although I can't get mine to work right, so I might have the wrong one. But why can't we just have this? I put it in the Believer. I put a note on it and say, look, I'm out there. There's a drone, but I'm on the Open Glider network. You can see where I am.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a wheel to reinvent. The whole thing is a nonsense. The actual electronic part, because it's become, well, Bruce might disagree, but it's become relatively trivial these days to announce your presence within a digital system. But we're rather handcuffed by the 30-year-old ADS-B system that's just been rolled out and considerations that's the way to do it.
It's like UTMs. UTMs will become pointless. You could make UTMs completely pointless overnight. you know, they won't be needed. You could basically have an ATC or air traffic control. And they just got big screens with their traffic management system, because it won't be UTM, because it should be all traffic, not just drones, of course. They should have nice big screens up. It can overlay the data. It should be able to pull it in from a DSB. It should be able to pull it in from the Open Glider network or FLARM or anything else that's out there on their nice big screen. They'll be able to click on a point or look at a target and go, right, that one's 200 feet, that's 1,000 feet. Yeah, they're going to go, one's going to go under, one's going to go over, not a problem. You know,
Flight Radar 24.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you just need a set of VR goggles and the data coming in. You don't need a big, expensive screen.
You don't. And actually, saying that, so the Epson Maverios, is it? They're good goggles. And what you can do is you can plug them into your laptop. You can stand there with it and have Mission Planner up on your head. Literally, you can stand there. You see through the Maverios as well, so you can keep visual line of sight. You can have a headset with your Mission Planner full going on what's going on in front of you. If you can suck in all the data into Mission Planner, like from the FLARM, Open Glider Network, the ADCB, you can see everything that's going on out in the field, stood there, watching everything happen. It's incredible.
One of the biggest problems reducing situational awareness is workload. You're going to increase your workload, your situational awareness decays.
Well, you kind of do, but you can have information overload. But, you know, you can see what's going on with your aircraft. Instead of looking at a screen to do it, literally you can stand there, I can see the aircraft, and I can see what's going on as well, you know, because otherwise you have to look away at a screen anyway to look at data that's coming in for the aircraft.
Speaking of which, I asked Brendan, because he seems to be the mouthpiece for DJI, what are the parameters for this AirSense thing? You know, it tells you there's an aircraft coming. Okay, what's the altitude? What's the distance? All this stuff. Because if that AirSense system keeps warning you aircraft, people are going to start dismissing the warnings because they happen too often. There's no planes coming by, and I think they should make that information public. But Brendan doesn't seem to know where it is.
Well, I can tell you now, having flown the M210, the AirSense system in that is absolutely shocking. Now, someone might disagree with me. I was flying that at 25 meters high, and I was mapping with a X4S, but it's crop and it's 25 meters high. Now, surely the software knows what height the drone's flying at, you would think. So a plane is 5,000 feet. It is 10 kilometers out. And as it comes across the top of me at 5,000 feet, I get a warning. Fly lower. Fly lower. I'm 25 meters. How low do you want me? It's 5,000 feet. You're
not low enough. You're not low enough.
I don't care. If it's
Find a hole to fly in.
If you're at 5,000 feet, who cares about something at 5,000 feet? Even if you're 400 feet, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean?
It makes those warnings useless because people will ignore them because they're far too often, and you don't know what they mean. The other thing is,
you set that in Argipilot with the ping. You set what you want it to be.
Well, it's all automatic, isn't it? With the DJI, I don't think you control those parameters. And also with the remote ID that DJI apparently have built into every drone that be compatible. I asked Brendan whether if it wasn't compatible, will DJI droners get a free hardware upgrade? And also, I want to know if it's user configurable. If I live in a country where remote ID is not required, I may not wish to have remote ID operating, but I can't turn it off. So DJI are increasingly looking at, someone's going to come along and do a better job because they're going to realize, hey, you own this drone. You have the right to control what it does and fly here and fly there and so forth. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting that he's talking about that because no country in the world has agreed to use their standard. So it's all very well that he's talking that up.
I think he's sort of saying it'd be a firmware update, and because we've got systems based on Wi-Fi transmission, we can transmit anything on Wi-Fi because we just change the data stream to do that.
Have you guys ever heard of the expression de facto standards? They might as well create the de facto standard.
Yeah, in fact, if I wasn't so opposed to a remote ID, I'd be out there now getting everybody to fit their own remote IDs to an open source standard on their drones, and then creating a monitoring network so that, like Flight Radar 24, integrate it into Flight Radar 24. So when the regulators come along, there's a system already here. How can we possibly tell people to throw that away? But we haven't done that, and in a way, I wouldn't want to do that because we shouldn't have to tell people what we're doing, where we're standing, any of that sort of crap. It's not relevant.
I think something like the Open Glider Network is quite good because it doesn't say where you took off from. It doesn't say where you are. It just shows the aircraft as a blip in the sky, shows you what height you are.
Let's not conflate the two things. We're talking about two things here, really. We're talking about basic aviation safety, which is let's see each other so we don't hit each other in whichever way, and just something for plod.
Remote
RID is for plod. RID is for the regulators.
I really think, and I smile when I hear our UK friends moaning about remote ID with all those cameras they have littered all over the place.
And NPRM as well.
Get a grip.
Those ANPR cameras with automatic number plate recognition, I mean, that's effectively remote ID because they'll know exactly who you are. They track stolen vehicles and they can tell where you've been. It's all stored. It's like Big Brother is alive and well in the UK, but I'm not going to be part of that sort of thing.
Well,
come on, you're part of that because you're part of the Five Eyes. So
no, we're not. We're getting kicked out because we won't criticize China enough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're getting kicked out. Are you?
Well, not kicked out, but I mean, there's been some very stern words said by some of the other Five Eyes partners about our unwillingness to stick in the old boys club and to criticize China. It's supposed to be a surveillance network. It's not a political network designed to launch criticisms against other countries. I mean, if we're going to talk about human rights, I think America's in a very shady place to stand at the moment.
Yeah.
No country's got good human rights, has it? Let's face it.
No. Right, we're definitely in wobble. We're talking human rights. We've definitely dropped into wobble territory here. So what else have we seen before we go? What else is happening in your world, Bruce? You've been fairly silent.
Well, not a lot, actually. It's been... my eyesight's good. I can see. It's really good. That was amazing. That was incredible. It was unusual, but there is not unprecedented, apparently. But no, that's working really well for me still. And apart from that, it's getting cold. Got my jersey on. It was 3 degrees this morning. Yeah, lucky northern hemispheres. And I must go out and have a fly in the pink moon or whatever it is, the super moon. Got my night drone there. I'll give a bit of a fly in the park with that. That'll be good fun.
Yes. The moon was lovely here last night. And snow on the berg. So here comes and fires are starting. You'll be pleased to know, Mark, fire season started. They're happening around and about. Cape Town, big one in Cape Town, of course. Yeah,
we've had a big one in Northern Ireland, haven't we, on the hills? We've had a big
burn out 20, 30, 40 hectares.
Well, it was more than that. There was a riot going on in Northern Ireland on the hills. It's been quite nasty.
9,000. Hang on, let's look at this. Have we heard some of Europe's peaked to 9,000 meters with the Mavic Pro? So that's Everest height. My word. Gosh.
Hang on a minute. So does that mean they took off from a mountain, or they actually flew it from sea level to 9,000 meters? So if it took off from the hill anyway, or side of a mountain, it's not.
So you couldn't do that in Canada because you're not allowed to fly with ice on the rotors?
Yeah, it's 30,000. It's 30,000 feet, though. So, I mean, that's not to be sniffed at.
You props.
Well, the question is, it went that high, but how did it come down?
It probably glided gently to the ground, Louis.
Floated like a butterfly.
I think it'd be interesting because your props at 4.5 degrees, surely they would have put better pitch props on because you want 6 degrees or so, not 4.5, because when you get to a certain altitude, the props don't just don't generate enough lift. So you'd have to.
And you lose 1.5 degrees for every 1,000 feet you go up anyway.
You do indeed. Triadiabatic lap straight and all that sort of thing. Nonsense words.
Come on, Mark. That was on the A1, A3 examination. You flunked that examination of the A1, A3. There was a question about pressure and height.
Well, it probably was, but
it's all a long time ago since the good people of Luxembourg examined us.
Yes.
And your interesting video that you put up about doing the A2 CFC, is it, in Ireland, in effect?
Yes, you can actually do a A2 CFC in Ireland online. So there's a drone company basically you can register as an operator. You can go and do the course, and what happens? Now it's a bit hard to explain, but basically you can register on the Irish system so we would in the UK register as a third country operator. We can register. You can go to an Irish company. You can do your A2CFC online. It's a YASA A2CFC, so it's valid throughout the entire EU. You can then attach your certificate to your operator ID for Ireland. You can then take your Luxembourg A3 and A1 as well, and bring that in and attach it. And then as long as you've got the paperwork with you in your hand as you fly in mainland EU, and it also includes Norway, Greenland and Switzerland, because they have a reciprocation bilateral agreement. You can literally go, this is my card, I'm flying legally. So you can do it. It's now possible. But Luxembourg wanted you to go somewhere to do it. You can also do your GVC as well in Ireland. Now, the trick is if you're a UK pilot like me, though, you cannot do the flight test part. You've got to go to Ireland. You can't. My PFCO or GVC flight test doesn't count. I asked the question. They said, no, you've got to come over and physically we have to see you do it and you have to fly. But for UK operators, if you're going to go into the EU for your holidays and you want to take your drone and it's more than a little mini, that's the way to do it. There are certain niggles though. So even if you've got it and you go to France, you have to put the fireproof tag on the drone. You know, you still have to have. There are certain things like air law slightly different, or where you can and cannot fly. You have to do that kind of research. You have to have the right tag on the drone and any other sort of subtle little aviation requirements. Yeah.
No, that's quite interesting. Right. Any more for any more? Has anyone seen anything else this week? Going once?
No, I've seen something that Bruce might be aware, which is that the new open source firmware for the radios. Have you guys EX?
The long range system. Yeah. What about it?
No, just tell us what it is.
It is an open source long range radio system that will use FreeSky hardware. I think there's several different types of hardware you can use with it. But if you get old FreeSky R9 stuff laying around, you can repurpose it and use it with this long range system. And it seems to be working pretty well, actually. So I've got some FreeSky R9 stuff there. I'm going to fire it up and see how it goes.
I don't know what Kevin's asked about the. Sorry, I'll just jump in here. I'll carry on and I'll jump back to this.
I'll finish.
What sort of range are they saying?
Well, it's typical of that sort of LoRa 900 megahertz stuff. Depends on conditions, antennas and things. But you could expect 35K, I should think, if you have it all set up properly.
Not too stiff. Now, Kevin mentioned the Hydra drone demo video. I'm not sure what that was, actually. I've forgotten. If anyone can remind me, but I know one thing I did see and I wondered about. I saw on LinkedIn, my favorite place of controversy, that Skydio had a bridge inspection video. And if you watch it, this is my preparedness of not thinking about this, but if you watch the video and then they show a 3D rendering of stuff, the inspection afterwards, it doesn't look like the same bridge.
It's a bit like the DJI competition where they show you this impossible shot thing you're supposed to do, and one of the drones in the shot is not a DJI drone.
Oh, moisturizer with jet propulsion. Yeah, I've seen that one a few times. Yeah. I'm not quite sure the point of those sort of things, but people are working hard. Yeah, I thought that the Skydio thing was interesting. I'll have to watch that again. And if dear viewer, you're a member of LinkedIn, A, you can reach out to me there and I'll ignore you. And B, have a look for that. It was published by the Skydio people, and just tell me if it's the same bridge. Because I don't think
it's probably one of those ones Louis has been selling.
No, it was the bridge after it suffered the construction work. So they did the before and they showed the after.
Funny bridge inspection ends like in Italy with the bridge in Geneva, so that collapsed. I don't know what you're talking about there, Wolf. I don't know what that is.
The big bridge collapse in Italy, where it all rusted through inside the concrete and fell down.
Yeah.
That didn't make the news here. And
it was a couple of years ago that bridge that fell down in Italy.
Yeah. Well, my internet fell over earlier for those that have joined late. But today my day is consisted of setting up a library system for books and children to take books out, and a system called Mark 21. And
How
I'm
quaint.
frazzled. I'm frazzled.
How old-fashioned is that? A library with real books.
And you named it after me.
Well, we're building a new one with real books and everything. Yeah, bigger and better. Yeah.
Guess what I found?
I found
Noddy, the first Noddy book. Man, you could not sell that today, could you? It's got the little creatures there, which you can't even mention their names for fear of being cancelled.
No, there are many books.
It's got to be worth money.
Yeah, it has to be, Bruce.
Yeah.
I think YouTube reading it.
Oh, dear me. Right, I am definitely waffling. We're waffling. Going once, going twice. That's it for now. Look for that Skydio video, people, and see if it is the same bridge. Be safe wherever you are in the world. Wear a mask, wash your hands, stay away from other people. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. If you joined late, that Cine Lifter video or the Cine Lifter craft at the beginning is pretty interesting, and we shall follow that with interest. Best of luck to Mark and his team there. Everyone, cheerio, take care, look after yourselves. See you next week. Bye-bye.